Russia announced on Tuesday that it would approve a COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine, developed by Moscow's Gamaleya Institute, will be known as Sputnik 5 when it hits the markets. It has been tested in humans for less than 2 months, which has raised some concerns globally about its safety at large. But the Russian Health Ministry approved it before phase 3 of the trials. However, the World Health Organization's database lists the vaccine as still in phase 1 of testing. To chat a little bit further about this and its potential rollout is Dr. Boitumelo Semete-Makokotlela, the CEO of South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. A very good morning to you, Dr. Boitumelo. Thank you very much for joining us here on Weekend Dawn. I mean, as the connection is now clear and hope seems to be on the horizon, what are the responses coming from the rest of the world upon Russia's announcement of this potential vaccine, Sputnik 5?
No, thank you for having me. So, I mean, there's a cautious optimism because with any health product, we really need to have the scientific data that's available for proving its claims. And as other colleagues across the world have said, we don't have any data on this vaccine. And so we await to receive the data.
So just looking at some of the buyers or potential buyers and even the reasons for doubt regarding the ethical concerns and even risks associated, what's emerged on that front?
Sure. So the thing is with a vaccine, you have to go through the very rigorous clinical trials. You need to prove its safety first, and you then need to prove its efficacy. And until we have that data, it's very difficult for us to determine that. There are obviously ethical issues that need to be concerned and to be considered. And with every clinical trial, you would have an ethics committee that would review the study in a lot of detail, and they would then provide that report to their respective regulators. So since we haven't had any publications on this vaccine, it's very difficult, for us to weigh in, and hence I say there's cautious optimism.
So Mayor, looking at the global political dynamic that this perhaps has also brought into the fore, affecting the global race ultimately for a vaccine for COVID-19, what does it do for this race?
And the important thing to note is that it's not a race. Vaccine development is quite a lengthy process, and it has to be done as per proper clinical guidelines. So while there's quite a number of these that are being developed, it's important that they're done, quite properly, because we cannot run the risk of not having a safe and an effective vaccine that's been done. So we're quite excited about all these developments, but again, it's important that these are done properly. I mean, you note that in South Africa we've approved already some clinical trials for these vaccines. They've been ongoing now, and we are waiting to receive the data for that. So globally, there are efforts to support a number of vaccine studies, but they need to be done properly.
So speaking of which, speaking of the alternatives and other potential vaccines that are being tested, trialed and tested, I mean, walk us through what those options are, how far they're in development. I mean, when can we expect a rollout? Is it too soon to tell?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to tell now because a lot of them are, still at early stage of being tested. So quite a number are in phase 2, and we've got a few that are in phase 3 clinical trials. And again, the thing is about, particularly at phase 3, it's proving the efficacy of these vaccines in a large enough cohort. So we're talking about thousands of individuals that need to be enrolled into these studies. So the data is coming in slowly, but we do have a lot of development that's been taking place. And a number of these studies, the WHO has weighed in on them. You may have seen the GSK ones, etc. So those, there's quite a number of studies ongoing.
I'm looking at the potential rollout, the scenarios attached to should this vaccine be approved or an alternative. What does that rollout process look like for South Africa? I mean, ultimately, who will have access to it? What are the potential costs associated as well?
So, I mean, with any vaccine that comes into play, there's discussions that are held with the National Department of Health, as they really are the custodians for this, and they would have a rollout strategy. So for us as a regulator, our role in that rollout process is to confirm with them and give them the confidence that whatever vaccine that they would be rolling out, it's safe and it's efficacious. And again, quite early on, as we start getting promising data from phase 3 clinical trial, the discussions do start of how can this vaccine be rolled out? How do we ensure public access? Again, as the applicants submit to us as a regulator and to their respective ethics committees, they do allude to matters of rollout. So, if you want details on that, the National Department of Health is definitely the right stakeholders to be talking to.
Well, Dr. Boitumelo, as you mentioned, cautious optimism is what, is the reactions coming through from the world at large. But again, thank you very much for your time here in Newzroom Afrika. That was Dr. Boitumelo Semete-Makokotlela, the CEO of South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, chatting to us about the latest announcement from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who claims a possible COVID-19 vaccine is ready to be rolled out in 2 weeks, which will be known as Sputnik 5.